Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you another way of creating Final Cut details using random flow and creative flow. Once you've learned this process, you can use this of course to manually create uh, those Final Cut details instead of using random flow to randomize it. But we're going to combine the two to create the effect. Or first off, I'm going to increase the topology of this. We're going to use random flow, but we're going to use this mark sharp only toggle here. So instead of giving us final islands, which is in the form of a mesh or geometry, it's going to instead draw those randomizations on the source mesh using mark sharp edges. Then we're going to use creative flow to turn those into final cut details. Okay, and then after that, you can, of course, manually add or remove your own mark sharp edges. Okay, so mark sharp only. First, we're going to mirror this using creative flow on this side. We are picking this as our real geometry. Click, and then I'm going to mirror this in the XYZ. So I'm going to press X, Y, and Z. This and selecting all these faces, we're going to use random panels, and we can also use presets for this. So this just determines the kind of algorithm that we're going to use for randomization. And click on this. This only shows up in edit mode. There we go. You can see those geometry, look at this pattern, and when you use the mark sharp only toggle, it transforms into those mark sharp edges. The only drawback for this is you need manually increase topology on your source meshes. But you can actually use the subdivision cuts for this, but it will increase this when using this toggle, and when you use the subdivision cuts, it will increase the topology of the source mesh too, or instead of the um, separate geometry that it's supposed to produce by default. So I'm just going to use the original topology without subdividing. And create vibe for the panel size, and let's play around with the... Actually, before using this, you can view it as geometry to view the pattern much better. So currently, we're not going to use depth. Okay, so something like this one. Okay, then mark sharp only, and we're going to use creative flow. Okay, so here, and we're going to add draw modifier. So right now it's using the mirror modifier. Let's add a solidify modifier and just increase the solidify thickness. Do not touch the offset. Actually, let's go back to something like this. And introduce the bevel modifier. And use a segment of 3 and harden normals. Use the harden normals toggles to soften the edges, and oops, it destroyed our some micro bevels. Use bevel, do not harden normals. Okay, do not harden that. Do not replace it. If we use the harden normals, what? Okay, what happened? Let us retrace. Okay, harden normals. Okay, it replaced the use bevel. It replaced the do not use harden normals on that operator. Maybe here in shading. Okay, so do not toggle the harden normals on the operator on the or the micro bevel operator. I might have to change its behavior. So right now, just to soften the or smooth to shade smooth this part or the bevel part, just manually turn this on in the shading section of the bevel modifier right here are the normals instead of using it inside this. So don't use this. Instead, turn it on manually here. So it apparently it's probably using old code which I hadn't noticed. So it's um, removing the current mark sharp edges and replacing it with a new one. So just a heads up. And I'm going to update creative flow also. Just a minor update in a couple of days. Okay. So once we have that, we're going to you can either select an already marked sharp edge or just don't select anything and go to edges. So be sure to be in edit mode. This only shows up in edit mode. Mark sharp and turn this on. It adds an edge split modifier to the mix and then turn this on also. Split solidify modifier, what this does is it will place the edge split modifier on top of the solidify modifier, so thereby creating the final cut effect using our triumvirate of modifiers, which is the solidify, edge split, and the bevel. There we go. So you might have seen this in newer tutorials in YouTube when I actually posted it in Twitter like 2 or a year or 2 years ago. Somebody said that I stole this technique from that popular YouTube channel, which I also watch. But before 10 years before that video, I was already using this effect in ice tools. So Creative Flow was once two add-ons, which is ice tools and Cuber. Ice tools is non-destructive and Cuber is destructive, or handles the destructive workflow, but it's confusing for people, so I combined it into one, which is now Creative Flow. But this technique of using the solidify modifier, edge split, and bevel modifier to create this effect, I've been using that since the dinosaur time of Blender. And I just didn't, I had no YouTube channel then, and I wasn't promoting it as Panel Cut Details because I was into character modeling at that time, and I was using it for sci-fi suits and sci-fi armor. It didn't occur to me to coin the term as Panel Cut Details. I was just coining it as sci-fi details, and I only coined it as Panel Cut Details or promoted it as Panel Cut Details when I modeled mainly or handled created mostly angular hard surface models. So, but to say that I stole it, I didn't, of course, comment or reacted to that comment. I just left it alone because it's that kind of initial conversation. You already know that it's you're not gonna convince that person. Okay, so there you have it. It's quite simple. And then when you have this, when you have the modifier setup, you can just remove, add your own marked sharp detail by, of course, drawing lines or drawing lines, adding new edges, removing mark sharp statuses, and then creating new ones. So this method is also works on it's also great for organic models, mainly because of its non-destructive nature. It's really great for character models. So I use it mainly on sci-fi suits at the time when everything in Blender was head busts. Every artist was creating head busts in Blender, all sorts of head busts, aliens, sci-fi, robots, all heads. Right now, because it's more powerful, we get like we get characters, environments, all the ambience can handle all that resource now. But back then, very detailed head busts or head models. It's the rage. Okay, mark sharp. Okay, so there we go, and that's just another way of creating Final Cut details. So what we did is you can skip the random flow part if you want and just create the mesh or the source mesh. Then add the solidify modifier using the draw modifiers, and then add the edge split using edges. Add the bevel next using micro bevel here, and remember to do not use this here. I'm going to fix this first and turn it on here in the modifier. And then once you add those, uh, add the edge split modifier using this mark sharp operator here. It's supposed to mark sharp the edges as well, but if you want to not use the mark sharp functionality of that, don't select any edges. Use the operator and then show the redo panel here or using F9 in the view part. Use the first one, add edge split modifier to add the edge split modifier, and then use this to bring the edge split modifier on top of the solidify modifier to split the mark sharp edges because it's using this toggle here. Sharp edges, split them, and then the solidify modifier creates a shell or a thickness to those separated face islands using the marked sharp edges as boundaries. And then the bevel makes the panel cut obvious or make it more prominent in the mesh. So without the bevel, you can see we cannot detect the separation of the panel islands. And when we have this, boom, we have from the collection of those face islands or final islands, we have the panel cut details in their boundaries. The only downside to this is that for some topology, it can create holes like this. So it's more a perspective thing. And again, if you want to bake this, you need to model a bake to mesh on top of this, and then you can bake this detail. Okay, so that's it for this video, and I hope you learned something new using these tools. If you have any questions, use the comment section below or the links in the description. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.